In 1964, after the success of his dark nuclear comedy, Dr. Strangelove, Stanley Kubrick began a major motion picture. It was to be a film about abstract scientific ideas, the origin and the future of the human species, life in the cosmos, the evolution of our machines into artificial intelligence. Even to this day, Kubrick's 2001 A Space Odyssey remains the all-time great science fiction film. Its groundbreaking photographic techniques still influence modern special effects. But as our films get ever more spectacular, 2001 reminds us that it's the ideas behind the spectacle that are still the most important special effect of all.
It was a story about what I think is the impossibility in the possibility, or the other way around, in the meeting with the other.
We have no evidence at the moment that life exists anywhere else in the universe.
Oh, okay.
Which is what the movies should do.
Sure.
Bring you to another world.
But it seems absolutely inconceivable, and I think most astronomers today will go along with me, that in this gigantic universe, we are the only living things and the only intelligent things.
Because what is the most terrifying thing, if not the proximity with the other?
The script spoke to me in such a way that I knew that it was something that I didn't know what the end result would be, but the journey was going to be something else.
About half a century ago, the great Russian space pioneer Tsiolkovsky said, "Earth is the cradle of mankind, but you cannot live in the cradle forever." And that is very true, and out here among the stars lies the destiny of mankind.
We're all parts of a tremendous whole. There's no use fighting it.
Last year, I watched Luca Guadagnino's film Queer. I watched it in cinema when it came out. I really love Luca Guadagnino. His films are some of the best stuff that gets made at the moment. He is probably my favourite working filmmaker. So I was very excited for this film. But this isn't an analysis of Queer, although I would love to do a whole video breakdown of everything I appreciate about it, everything I've seen after now rewatching it. This is specifically a video about what I noticed, and I can't believe I didn't notice on first watch, but on my second watch, I was reminded there's a specific shot where Lee, the main character, falls. He starts as a little dot and then he comes down, gets bigger, falls into the camera. And it's such a clear reference to the shots from 2001. When I saw these similarities, and I'll analyse them deeper in a second, I'll look at all the different similarities, because this really triggered something in me and I did a deep dive. It made me ask why. Why would Luca Guadagnino do this? You don't reference another movie for no reason, and especially a filmmaker like him, it's not just like a quick throwaway shout out to 2001. There has to be a reason. So why would it be in Luca Guadagnino's mind to reference 2001 so directly in this sequence at the end of the film? It's because of the themes. The themes of Queer and the themes of 2001 are completely like that. Are we alone in the universe? But that's the central question of both. Are we alone in the universe? So the first point, when I started to go back into the movie and think, okay, there's this reference. What about the rest of the film? What about the rest of Queer? Is there any more meat to this claim that I'm making, that it's a direct reference? And the first, most obvious one that jumped out to me was both films are split up into 3 chapters, 3 title cards. Queer does have a third chapter, but it's not really relevant to this analysis. The first title card of 2001 is The Dawn of Man. The first title card of Queer is How Do You Like Mexico? These 2 sections, and this is what I'm going to say for both films, each section corresponds together. In 2001, you have the apes, you have like the beginning of man, and we're following just animal instincts, these base instincts. And Lee, Daniel Craig's character, has this animalistic thing to him. He's stalking and lurking his prey, basically. He's out trying to find someone to spend the night with, even if it's like a meaningless, heartless night. And then in 2001, the apes come across the monolith. And the monolith acts as a kind of gateway to a higher knowledge. And that's exactly what happens when Lee sees Allerton as well. Allerton, Lee's love interest in Queer, is the monolith in 2001. Both of them are kind of seen as this mystical higher form. The monolith is this just black, impenetrable, not giving away anything about itself. And Allerton is the same. He's extremely insular. He's extremely reticent to give much of himself and to reveal much about himself, which gives him this like alien air almost. And when Lee sees him, it's like he's encountering a higher life form, and his mind is opened to the potential for something greater than what he is now. In 2001, that's like knowledge and the ability to use tools, and then that leads on and eventually leads to spaceships. And then in Queer, it's the potential for connection, real human connection, that will elevate Lee. Oh yeah, and I think it's just it can't be a coincidence. This is like the scene where he comes across Allerton. He is watching a cockfight where all of these men are around these two animals, waving their hands around, beating the air. They look like the apes from 2001. They are acting in the same way. There is this animalistic thing, and it's like a direct visual comparison there. And then suddenly, Allerton comes in. Allerton is the monolith. Chapter 2. In Queer, it's called Traveling Companions, and in 2001, it's called Jupiter Mission. In 2001, it's two guys, and they're out on a spaceship. In Queer, it's two guys, and they're in a bus. I don't know, it's as simple as that. That's a similarity. Though one is like a journey that's just, on a road, it's just in a car, and the other is this grand intergalactic journey. They're both journeys to find, are we alone in the universe? It's exactly the same. The question is just as profound on the intergalactic scale as it is on the person-to-person scale. That's the point now. So the final chapter in Queer is called Epilogue, 2 years later. And the final chapter in 2001 is Jupiter and Beyond the Infinite. Both of the films, they have variation in what happens in this chapter. But then in the end, both of them end in a hotel room, with the main character ending in a hotel room. One is an alien hotel room, one is a kind of surreal, imaginary hotel room. In 2001, this hotel room is this kind of final resting place for Bowman's human form. It's the final place before he ascends to be this Ubermensch super baby thing. It's a sci-fi scene, whereas Queer is pretty overtly just a surreal scene, but it has the same kind of hard cuts that lead to time jumps. Or a character's there, cut, the character's not there anymore. And the end of the sequence in both of the films, you have Bowman, he turns into an old man, he's laid in bed, clearly at the very end of his life. He sees the monolith one last time, and he reaches out and touches it, and he becomes the Superman, superhuman. And in Queer, Lee is an old man, clearly at the very end of his life. He lays down in his bed, and one last time, he sees Allerton. And he remembers the one moment that sticks out to him from his whole life is the moment where Allerton reaches out his foot, touches his ankle, and it's a genuine show of affection and connection. And that moment, for Lee, is the most profound moment in his whole life because it showed him that connection is possible and we're not alone. And he dies with that feeling, and that knowledge, to him, is on par with the knowledge that Bowman has got coming into contact with this higher life form. Both of them know they're not alone in the universe. And that's the point Guadagnino is trying to make. Some more visual similarities. You cannot tell me these light shimmers that end the film when Lee dies are not a reference to the Stargate. It's like a wink at the camera. Yeah, you're right. If you noticed, this is a reference to 2001. You should watch 2001 and think about this film in relation to it. And this eye looking in the hotel window at the end, is this not totally in reference to the eye during the Stargate sequence? I don't know. Maybe that's more of a reach. But when you start to see it, it's like, there's too much here. There's too much here. Obviously, there's this shot of Lee falling through space, which totally is like that. This is the shot that triggered it all for me. It's such like a potentially cheap throwaway thing, like, oh, 2001 there. But you just know with someone like Guadagnino that there's more to it. This is more of a reach, but Queer has like a title sequence just like 2001, in which, you know, it's a long extended title sequence, text on the screen, bold imagery, bold titles. In one, it's literally just showing the universe and the grand scale. And then in the other, it's Lee's universe. It's his possessions, it's his small artifacts, it's the things that make up his world. I think there's something there. So having found all this, I've watched the films, I've made my own kind of comparisons. You have to go and try and get it from the horse's mouth. You have to go into the interviews, see if they've talked about it, see if Guadagnino's talked about it, Daniel Craig's talked about it, Justin Kuritzkis has talked about it. Anyone on the film, have they talked about it? No one is mentioning 2001 about this film. And I cannot believe that, because it's such a big part of it. It's not only a reference, it's the key to the film. So I went into the interviews. I didn't find anything talking about 2001, but I found plenty that supports my kind of idea of Queer is about asking, are we alone in the universe, and this scary question. And some other interesting stuff that I'm just going to show.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole, you know, the trip at the end, the third act. It's so important to the film. It doesn't happen in the book. It's something that Luca decided to put in.
It's interesting. Daniel Craig uses the word trip here. He is talking about the ayahuasca trip in Queer, but it's just an interesting use of words because famously 2001 was referred to as the ultimate trip. Now that is a reach.
I think I tried to find a way to speak the different possibilities of the language of cinema that I learned watching great movies in general. I like to think that I think of cinema through the lens of cinema.
Guadagnino is a total movie obsessive. He sees cinema as a kind of self-eating, self-informing medium in which it can use itself to elevate itself. That's what I get from what he just said. He's obsessed with great films. I've got another quote. I read this interview years ago in Sight and Sound. The upside is that you have access to a lot of information. You have access to a lot of discoveries. You even have access to the actual texts. You can see movies more easily than we used to. The bad thing is that in a way, this very immediacy of the digital hypertext and knowledge may give you the idea that you know more than you actually do, and create a platoon of superficial cinephiles, whereas cinephiles, by definition, are not superficial, they are obsessive. The film canon is my life. It's the reason why I live. I mean, that's very filmmaker hyperbole, but it just shows he's obsessed with film. That's his life. And he takes from the great films and he puts them into his films. He said it explicitly, and I think he did it in Queer from 2001.
So the decision was taken immediately to go, let's say, artificial. to recreate the world. I'm happy you say that it's completely real and yet completely invented, because that was the strange line that we were trying to cross.
They made the decision on Queer as well to make it all in a soundstage, and it's completely like a William Burroughs novel. It's like you're inside someone else's head. It's not a real representation of Mexico City. It's a Lee's kind of headspace. They built miniatures. They built the whole world. It's both totally real and believable and totally fantastical. I think that's just an interesting similarity that 2001 and Queer have. They both are totally constructed for the film in a bespoke way to create a world that you've never seen before. There's no film that looks like 2001, and there is no film that looks like Queer.
And there was this name, William Burroughs, which was so evocative to me, and this white, strange graphic cover of a book titled Diverso, which translates in diverse, different, which I kind of, it was like a call to me. It was like a mirror, because I always felt diverso. The book revealed something about myself, which was the feeling that I always felt, and I kept feeling afterwards, of desire and connection to a very profound degree.
Yeah, this is also very interesting. So in Italian, the book is called Diverso, not Queer, not even necessarily to do with anything to do with sexuality. The film, though it is about two guys who are gay, it does have a universal thing of just what it's like to feel different from other people. I think it's a totally universal film that conveys a feeling that everyone will relate to. Of course it's about being queer, but that's just an interesting thing, that the thing that Luca Guadagnino related to when he read that title, and he is queer, but it wasn't that. It was just, he read the title and thought, well, I've always felt different as well. I've always felt apart from the other people, the rest of the world, the rest of the universe.
It was a story about what I think is the impossibility in the possibility, or the other way around, in the meeting with the other.
Some of this I can't say any better than Guadagnino is saying it. So I can't say much more, but he's confirming that this is the theme of the film. It's also the theme of 2001, as you'll see in these clips.
So, the exploration of the universe is much more than a contest between two mid-20th century powers. It's really the next stage in the evolution of mankind.
When you hear Arthur C. Clarke talking about the concepts behind 2001, you just have to swap out Earth, humankind, whatever, for Lee, or the self, just the inner self. Imagine he's talking about that, and it's like he's talking about queer.
We hope to convey to the public the wonder and beauty and promise of the new age of exploration which is opening up before the human race. We want to convey the message that our Earth is perhaps not the only abode of life. That's the question that 2001 asks and seeks to answer.
I think that's marvelous. I think that somehow, without making it sound too pompous or precious, that he captures the hopeless but admirable human desire to know, these things that they never will, can never really know, and to reach for things that they can never, really reach or reach back. And, it's very hard to say it exactly, but this sense of sadness and this poetic sense of time passing and the sort of loneliness of, worlds.
It's so interesting listening to Kubrick talking like that and talking in these ways that... Kubrick and Guadagnino are so different as filmmakers. Kubrick is much more cold, he's much more distant, he's much more calculating. I think Guadagnino is a filmmaker of passion. He is the best at portraying passion. But they're both talking about the same thing. It's really interesting.
Well, in a funny way, I think Stanley was also making comment that at times the people, certainly the astronauts, become, in a sense, more machine-like, or as machine-like. as the machines. And I think that's another reason that he had us underplay.
Yeah, in that clip, Keir Dalia says about how Kubrick made them underplay their performance. And it's just another quick side note similarity. Allerton is extremely Kubrickian in his performance. I mean, Drew Starkey, I cannot wait to see what he does next, because I think his performance as Allerton is incredible. I think Daniel Craig, also incredible. Just shout out to Drew Starkey. His performance in Queer is so good, so much more difficult than it looks, so complex. And without him, it might seem like Daniel Craig is the one that carries the film. Absolutely not. It's the two of them and their unique relationship, their completely different ways of playing that shouldn't work because of our different style of acting they both have. But just the depth that Allerton has, while also underplaying everything, is incredible. And it is very, very Kubrickian.
Stanley Kubrick sought to show us how vitally important it is for us to have respect for the unknowable. We need to be in awe. Without that, we're lost in a fog of self-regarding illusion. The last words are the words of Kubrick himself.
Oh, that quote is just too perfect. You could put that at the beginning of Queer as a little intro quote. However vast the darkness, we must supply our own light. How well does that match up with the little twinkling of light at the end of Queer? That's my case. I've made my case. Guadagnino and his team knowingly referenced 2001 in Queer. Not just as a throwaway, not as a cheap Easter egg, but as a means to support the themes of their film and to make a grander point about the question of being alone in the universe. That question is not just an intergalactic one, but an interpersonal one. I think it's such a smart decision that could have really not paid off if they hadn't committed to it as hard as they did. But it's such a smart decision. It's such a rewarding thing to notice and then look back through the film to pick up the things you didn't see first of all. On top of the kind of thematic reasons, the storytelling reasons he does it, Guadagnino does it as a statement as a filmmaker to say that filmmakers should make films and see themselves in the grand scheme and timeline of all of cinema. And they should make their films in dialogue with all the other greats and all the other impacts and all the other influences that have left their mark on them. And they should be open to it. It's him showing his true love and passion for cinema as an art form, appreciation for Kubrick as a master, and it's almost like a thank you and a passing of the torch. Is Queer as good as 2001? It's not important. I think both films are great. 2001 has had a bigger impact. Films have less of an impact nowadays. I think Queer will go down as a modern classic. It should do. If it doesn't, whatever, it will for me. It's showing how you can use your influences and use the past without recycling it in a kind of nostalgia way. Queer is something completely new. And yet it uses the past overtly. It's a statement against the kind of modern nostalgia culture we have as well. I think it's showing what a healthy relationship with the past looks like. Learning from it, speaking with it, having a dialogue with it. And in a time where more and more it looks like history is repeating itself, we're eating our own kind of art and shitting it back out and making it again but worse. This is more like eating it, digesting it, getting all the nutrients out, and then, using it for energy and re-energizing yourself. I don't know, it's just really exciting as a filmmaker to see this sort of stuff happen, and to see someone who, as successful as Guadagnino, who doesn't need to do this, do something that's clearly him playing, excited about film, excited about making films, and excited about the possibility of being known in the canon of cinema, as he says it, which he calls himself, he calls it his life. And he is in the canon of cinema. And he is one of the great filmmakers of this century. No doubt. I want you guys who do see this, let me know your thoughts on this. Revisit the film. Enjoy it. It's fantastic regardless of whether you agree with me or not. And if I could have my dream scenario from this, someone from Queer, please, if you see this, or if you know someone who worked on Queer who can get this out there, I need to know. This can't be a coincidence. Get this to Luca. I want to talk to him, and I want to understand. I want to learn, and I want to know if this is really everything I'm saying, or am I just a massive conspiracy theorist, and this is just a stupid theory. I think I'm cooking. But who knows? We'll see. Thanks for watching. I don't know if this will work as a format, but I enjoy rambling. I think it's better than me having a script sometimes. I think I can get into the flow of it more. Let me know, and yeah, go watch Queer and 2001.